Heather, thank you so much for being on the podcast, The Secret Sauce of Property Managers. You are very famous in the vacation rental industry. You're doing a podcast yourself. You did a fantastic event in Toronto, which I had the chance to attend. And you also, you've been dubbed the godmother of vacation rentals. So you are no stranger to our listeners, I don't think. However, there's one thing I realized preparing for today's podcast was that I didn't even know the name of your property management company. So how could this be? And I've never been on your website. So when do we ever talk about your property management business? You always talk about the other property management. Now we want to hear everything about your own and all the things you've implemented with all the knowledge that you have. So thank you for being on the podcast. And do please let us know a little bit about yourself and how you got there in the first place.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. Being on the other side of the mic, actually. Usually, as you said, the tables have been turned. And yes, I always introduced myself as being, host of the Vacation Rental Success podcast, and then secondary CEO of Cottage Rental Management. So we are a property management company in Ontario, Canada, and we have, at the moment, around 160 properties. We've been up to 200. We are currently around 160. We've done a lot of culling recently. We'll probably go into the reasons for that. And we have been in operations since 2003. But I've been in the business since about 1995. So, oh my God, that's 25 years now. And yeah, we are pretty busy. We're a seasonal company, so July and August. In a normal year, July and August is usually our high season. This year has been a complete outlier, and we have been 100% occupied since the beginning of June, and will be until the middle of October, and it's just not stopping at the moment. So it's been the craziest year for our business, as well as being just a crazy year. I mean, how will we talk about 2020 in 10 years' time, eh?
Tell me about it. And let's hope we're not going to talk 2020, 2021.
Nope.
So great. So I want to dive deep into how your property management company works. But tell me a little bit about the brand, first of all. What do you stand for? Who are your customers in terms of property owners and also guests?
It's going to sound a bit odd to say, but our brand stands for hospitality and welcome, and you might think, well, yeah, everybody's brand stands for that. But hospitality and welcome has not been the cornerstone for the market here in Ontario. It's an old market. Cottage rentals have been a sort of rite of passage for decades, that people in Toronto have to go to a cottage at some point. And usually it's every summer, and our properties are around 2 hours north, east and west of the city of Toronto, and they're all on lakes, all waterfront, all private waterfront. So it could be a lake, it could be a river, it could be an island, it could be anything that's got water, and that's where we are. But when we started, we had this goal of trying to move the needle into the 21st century and incorporate hospitality, because it just wasn't there. So leave as found was the byword, and it still is in many cases. Guests are asked to arrive. They hope the cottage has been cleaned, and when they leave, they have to leave it in the same condition in which it was found, and all your cleaning materials are there, and the very old vacuum is there, and that's it. You're on your own. And guests were meant to be look after themselves. It was self-catering at its most basic, and still now, bring your own linens is the byword for many. So we wanted to make the change, and that really has been where we've taken our brand to be the agency that provides a cleaning service. And it just seems weird to say, because everybody expects that there will be a cleaning service, but it just wasn't the case here. But it still is. It still is very, very common. So that is what we've done. We're still trying. Here we are, 2020, still trying to move that needle into the 21st century, and we still have owners who come to us and say, well, am I meant to clean? Am I meant to clean when the guests are gone? It's like, yes, you are meant to clean. You are meant to hire a professional cleaning service. And that is one thing because all our properties are very remote, some can be 10 miles, 10 kilometers, whatever, down a dirt track. And then the nearest property is another 30 kilometers away. We cannot provide, it's just not logistically possible to provide a cleaning service to every property. So we work with every owner and their property manager. So I've often said it's like herding 150 cats on a changeover day. But that is, our brand is hospitality and being welcoming to guests and trying to bring the other players into that way of thinking.
Great. So lots of things I want to get some more information on. One, the cleaning. So you're a property manager that doesn't own the cleaning. How is that going to work with the new kind of COVID frenzy that we have at the moment, where people want it to be extremely clean? We've seen on OTAs now extra tick boxes, that makes you rank higher if you have extra cleaning. Is this something that you this summer, since you've been so busy, did people ask for it to be extra clean? Did they have more questions about the cleanliness of the rentals?
Interestingly enough, there were some, but not many. They were just so happy to have this summer out of the city that very few people did ask the question. However, we implemented COVID-19 cleaning procedures and protocols. We provided a checklist that went to all our owners and all their property managers, and they had to buy into that before we allowed them to rent at all this year. And we did lose a few because some of the owners were doing the cleaning themselves and were not prepared to go to the sorts of lengths that we wanted them to go to, when we're saying, you've got to wipe every remote control and every light switch and every high touch surface. And some properties don't have laundry services on site. And when you're on an island and you don't have a washer dryer, it's a little bit difficult. So we probably only carried on this summer with about 60% of our inventory. But we did have the very strict protocols in place, and we've actually had very few instances of any complaint about cleaning.
Very good. Thank goodness. Yes. And so in terms of marketing to owners, so you said at one point you had 200, now you have about 160. You did extremely well this summer. How do you market to owners? I know this is a topic that you like to talk about, and I want to hear about it. What are your top tips to kind of market to your local owners?
Well, what's happening this year is that the market in new property, in people buying second homes, has just blown up. I mean, it's blown up everywhere. And so our number one source of referral is our network of realtors, of real estate agents. So we work with the real estate agents. We provide them with all sorts of services, so we can do evaluation. So if a new property comes up for sale, we can do an evaluation for them for rental. So they have something to give to their new buyers. And in return for us promoting that realty, we can't get referral fees or do any other real referral packages because of the realty regulations. But we can promote those realtors, and in turn they share our information with their new buyers. So that is probably, we're probably dealing 2 or 3 every single day at the moment, new buyers. And then secondly, it's our current owners and past owners and referral systems for them, so that if they refer a client, they get, or refer a friend or a business associate or somebody else that's got a property, then that owner will get a nudge on their commission rate. So they get a preferential commission. And then our website, which we are currently redoing, and the website will be launched in about 3 weeks' time. So exciting. And it's going to be an absolutely content-packed website. So we've got all sorts of articles for new owners. So that has always brought us new business, because I'll do an article on how you welcome pets at a property, or how not just for our potential owners, but for any potential owner. So I'm using all the material that I've used for the last 20 odd years in this business, sharing with managers and owners. I'm using that for my company. The other thing is that being the host of the podcast really does make a difference, because I share that on every communication, and that works. But generally, realtors, referrals, and the website, those are the three main areas where we get the most in terms of owner acquisition. Yeah.
And so let's talk about the website. It's more of a B2B website than a B2C, or do you have a direct marketing approach?
We are. I'm so proud. We are 100% direct.
Kidding me? Really?
Yes. From this year, we we started with. We dabbled with Airbnb earlier this year, and that didn't work so well. And then Canada Stays, which was a big source of, not say big source, it was a source of traffic for us for a number of years. And we'd worked with Canada Stays since they started. And then HomeAway bought a 6% stake in Canada Stays about 5 years ago, and things began to change. And then Expedia brought them out altogether last year. So things changed dramatically. And instead of this cozy relationship we had with Canada Stays, we used to go down to their offices and have lunch, and we got all sorts of breaks on our listing fees, and it was a lovely relationship. And then the moment they swapped over, it all changed, and we've never got to talk to anyone in Toronto anymore. And so we decided that was it, and pulled everything. And it hasn't slowed down at all.
So how much are you spending on your marketing? I mean, obviously the website has a cost. Clearly, you spending money on SEO.
Actually, we've been in business for 17 years. 60% of our guests are repeat, and then they refer us to others. So we try and have all our guests become ambassadors for us. And we will give them preferential deals and whatever if they share on Instagram all their photos and that sort of thing. So we're using our guests as a marketing source, totally free. Maybe a little bit of a giveaway occasionally. Quite honestly, we use a listing site called Cottages in Canada, which is one of the very basic listing sites. There's no online booking. Traffic comes straight back to us. And that brings us probably 60% of our traffic. But so much of it is now organic. It comes directly to us and from our repeats. So marketing cost is small, which means actually that in our budget for this coming year, we can start now we are OTA free. We can start spreading out to other sources, and maybe looking at more SEO help and looking for more niche websites. So we're with Fab Stays.
Yep.
And with Robert Geller, and that is slowly bringing us some traffic. We're with Hoofy, and with a couple of other smaller listing sites. So, we've had 100% occupancy in July, August, and we're probably at 80% for September, which is unheard of. And our pre-booking for 2021 is already well over 100% increase on where we were last year.
So that's madness, Heather. What do you attribute it to? What did you do? Did you do something special, or is it the current situation?
It was COVID. I mean, our cottage rentals were banned. No cottage rentals in April or May, and we honestly thought we weren't going to have a season. And then on June the 5th, the province lifted the block. And it was like the floodgates had opened. People just wanted to get out of the city. I think about mid-July, we had a brainwave, which perhaps should have had, because we were having so many inquiries. And we just started a wait list. And I think that was about the second or third week of July, because we were just about full for the end of July, and August was let's start a wait list. 3 weeks later, we had 1,000 names on the wait list.
Oh my word!
So we have that's a new 1,000 customers that we hadn't had before. And then the other thing we'd attribute is that back in April, when all the cancellations started, we made the decision that we would not hold any money. We would simply return all the funds and allow for free cancellation. And we changed our policy for upcoming bookings to 21 days instead of a much more stricter policy we had. So we said, now COVID's out there, you can book, but you can also cancel up to 21 days in advance. And it just created such a huge amount of goodwill, because the other companies weren't doing this. They were holding people to their bookings, making them book for the following year when they didn't want to. And so what we ended up having was all the people who cancelled super happy that they got all their money back, and they're going to come to us again. And then the moment it opened up, all those cancellations got rebooked. So we had double the clients, if you like.
Wow, Heather. So I mean, you should get lots more product, right? How big can you become, Heather? What's the Ontario kind of market?
The market is big. It's huge, and we're waiting on some things to happen, and I think we will begin. The growth has started now, but we did, as I mentioned before, we've culled a lot of properties. We had a lot of legacy properties that we've said we don't want anymore because they don't meet our standards. Or secondly, we don't have a great relationship with the owners, and the relationship with our owners is absolutely the top priority. And so we have let go a number of properties because we just don't get on with the owners, or they're not willing to meet our standards. And so we're down to about 160 at the moment. We don't really want to go above 200. We're very happy around 200. All our staff work from home. They have done since 2015. So this, working from home wasn't new to anybody. So we're happy with our staff are with us. We've had one member of staff with us for 15 years, and others, I think it's 8 years, 5 years, 3 years.
How many staff?
We have eight altogether.
Wow. And nearly in 160 properties. That's amazing. Very good.
Yeah.
It's kind of lean, right? So you must have lots of technology to help you.
Yes, we do pretty well on the tech, but we've made mistakes for sure over the years.
I want to hear all about it. Maybe not. Maybe without names.
Yes, I'll do it without names.
But maybe you could
Hey,
tell me.
you know who you are.
Well, we're not talking about Renters United, no? Let it be
No.
said. No, but there are other people out there. Yes, we know. And so, but the question is, what does your tech stack look right now? And, if you had to give some advice as to how to run with 8 people, 160 rentals, what would be your advice on what you need?
Well, I'll take you back to the beginning. My business partner Craig is a database manager. So when we started the business, we bought into the cheapest. As a lot of people do, they go for the cheapest property management system you can. But that was 2003, and there wasn't a huge amount out there. So it was something very basic. We thought it was so exciting because we'd moved on from spreadsheets and faxes and checks in the post and that sort of thing, but we bought into something that was relatively inexpensive, but Craig was able to build his own bolt-on stuff on top of that, and it made it into a really good system until we got to about 30-40 properties, and it wasn't scaling. The system just could not scale to meet the changes really in what people were expecting. So we decided to make a change. We fell for bells and whistles and fancy salesmanship, and it was the biggest unmitigated disaster we've ever had in our business. And I remember it took 4 months for the onboarding for a new website. And I remember I was in Maui on vacation, feet up, when the site turned over to a new website, a new system. And immediately we lost 95% of our traffic.
Oh my good God. Oh.
Number one mistake was that we'd done the switch over in February, which is our prime booking season. So that was crazy. That was our mistake. Secondly, we'd fell for a lot of promises and the hype that says we can do anything you want and we can do it for anybody. And of course, some of our Canadian systems just did not mesh, particularly with accounting. So our accounting systems didn't mesh. And it was just, anyway, long story short, 5 days later, we reverted back to our original website and our original self-made property management system. And that's where it stayed for a few more years. And then the next time we stepped out, we cost cut again. And we never learned from the very first time. The second time, we fell for something that was expensive with bells and whistles. The third time, it was for something inexpensive again, but it seemed to do what we wanted. And in fact, to give them their due, it has worked pretty well for the past 6 years. But we're now in the market for something else. But we have learned that research is talking to people who are using the system.
Yep.
And not talking to the people that the company tells us to talk to. Because they'll always do that. Say, oh, you should talk to X, Y, and Z. They've been with us for years. But of course, they're happy customers. I want to talk to the people that perhaps are not as happy as well.
Yeah, tough decisions, because your whole business relies on the PMS, right? So,
oh gosh,
yeah,
yes.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So yes, choosing the wrong PMS, not researching it well enough was probably the biggest mistake we ever made.
And so now you run on completely third-party tech, right? You haven't built anything you own anymore. You don't.
Well, we still have a few bolt-ons because I can't stop Craig from building stuff, and he loves it. And provided that there are some, and there's some newer PMSs out there that encourage this. They've got open APIs, and they're willing to allow us to get in and be a little bit more flexible. So we are currently in the market for our new PMS with our new website. And we did it the opposite way to what everybody told us when they said choose your PMS and then go for the website. But we did it the other way around, and we're very happy. We'll get the website up and running on our current system, which is working okay, and then we can spend the time to find the new PMS. And yes, it will cost a little bit to update the website, but we're happy with that. We're happy with that decision.
And so, have you thought of putting an RFP out for a request for proposals? You know, that's
not yet. We've done demos. We've done half a dozen demos. We followed a lot of what Matt Landau and Terry White have done in terms of the Keystone Awards, and I've spoken to Terry on a number of occasions, and I think that's the key. You know, get some consultancy, find somebody who knows exactly what they're talking about, and spend that money to to get somebody who knows, who is unbiased, and has no real reference to any specific third party, but they have done that research, more in-depth research than you can do as a property manager, because they know what they're looking for. Yeah,
and the Terry White research is excellent as far as I'm concerned, and I'll post a link in the podcast notes, definitely. And there's also a list of consultants on our blog. So if you go to rentalsunited.com/blog and type consultants, you'll find quite a good list of consultants that can help. And so tell me, because I could speak to you all day, but we're trying to keep this to half an hour. I don't know how far we're in. I would like to hear, given that you had such a great summer, I mean, business-wise, let's say, can you tell us what would be a piece of advice for our listeners in terms of building a sustainable business in the future?
Well, I've got a few tips here, because most people fall into this business. It's not something, you don't leave school or college with the goal to be an owner operator of a short-term rental business. Well, maybe some do. Maybe they leave hospitality training with that, but most people just fall into it. So they don't have any in-depth knowledge of what you have to do makes it a success. And when I started in 1998, I had absolutely no idea, and I had to pick it up all myself, and in fact there wasn't the stuff out there that there is now. So I've learned over the years what I would do if I was going back and doing it all again. Number one is map out a 5-year and a 10-year plan. How many properties do you want? What's your income goals? How many staff do you want to have? Where you want to be? Do you want to be in your basement for the next 5 years? Which is actually currently where I am. I am still in my basement, because all our, we work entirely from home. That's what we planned. That we didn't want brick and mortar, but in some places you will want brick and mortar. So create a blueprint for 5 years and for 10 years. And I think a lot of people don't even think about doing that. It's like, this is where I want to be next year, but you've got to think ahead. Secondly, when you make that first hire to fill a gap and not to duplicate your own skills. Because I hear people say, I just want a clone of me. I do everything and I do it great, and I just need 2 of me. So they go out and hire somebody who's exactly the same as themselves, and then they've lost, and then that's 2 people in the same situation with all these gaps in the skills. So, decide what you love and outsource the rest, basically. We started because I hate finance stuff. I don't have a clue about cash flows, so I hired somebody to do that. And this is one you'll love. Don't jump into tech without thorough research. Talk to the people who are using it. There is so much tech out there, and I'm a bright, shiny person. I love to jump in and buy in whatever's going, and I fall for the hype all the time. And remembering that there's the different facets to the business, you've got owner acquisition, guest services, operations, marketing, finance, housekeeping, emergency planning. Separate them all out and do a different plan for each one. Because when you do that, then you're going to really identify where those gaps are, where you need help, and where you want to be on your 5-year plan. So never got around to talking about channel management, really.
That's okay. I talk about channel management all day. Why would I want to do that?
But I think, the last one would be in terms of channels, and understanding that there is far more out there than just Airbnb and Expedia and Booking.com. And they are changing the way they work and the way they operate all the time. And I think there's some really interesting changes coming. So be willing to go out and support some of these smaller channels. Like I mentioned, we're with Fab Stays, and we've only had 1 or 2 bookings from there, but it will grow. And bring Fido.com. I remember you doing a session at a conference about niche marketing, and it really got me thinking about it. So, you look at somebody like Nancy McAleer and Michelle Totino and Flabo, the Florida by owners.
Florida
Rentals by owners. Yes. And it's taken them 5 years, but they've got some really good traction by now. So seek out the local sites and use Facebook groups and any other resources you've got, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I couldn't agree with you more, Heather. And in fact, if you look at a list that I recently put out on our blog with the next, the coming soon website on Renters United, you'll find some really interesting one that I think would be great for you, including Go Lightly, the membership sites. You know about membership sites? And Go Lightly is particularly for women property managers. So it's a membership, and only property managers who are women can advertise on there. And they have tons of these sites that completely different aspects, looking at all sorts of aspects of life, and very interesting. So please have a look. And I'll send it to you, so you don't have to look for it. So thank you so much, Heather. And it's been great talking to you as usual. Thank you, and good luck for the PMS hunt.
Yes.
If I can be of any help, don't hesitate. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice day, Heather.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. Always an absolute pleasure to spend time with you.
Same here, Heather. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.